So
American
today's
dream.
today's topic is
America,
American Dream.
America,
It's
America.
beautiful. And um
Mm,
yeah.
well, it's kind of dead. The American dream is dead, honestly,
Yeah. It's
because
dead. No
it's
wonder
so
it's
like
called the dream.
no,
Never happens.
no, it's not the dream. It never happens. Well, yeah, I guess it does set you up for failure. It's always just going to be a dream, no matter where you come from,
Dreams
which
are
is
never
crazy.
reality.
Yeah, in reality, like people have always said that the whole thing, the whole like what makes America great is that there's so many opportunities here. Opportunities that are no longer there because for everything you need a house, you need a billing address, everything is online, you need a phone, and you need technology, and it's all tied to you being able to be a success in America.
And that's like
Not
bare minimum.
everything.
Acquiring the bare minimum
You
is going to be
need,
difficult.
yeah, and jobs aren't really available
Yeah.
in a lot of senses because you can get a really shitty paying job, but shitty pay is not going to pay the bills. Our minimum wage is extremely, extremely low.
Mm.
They have a bill going out for that, I think, right now, of raising the minimum wage. That's probably going to be docked,
It's
though. I
probably going to
because
be
I heard,
hard to pass as it always is.
yeah, it's gonna be really hard to pass, especially with Republicans, who say that their biggest concern is money, but it also changes.
So what we were on about was jobs. And the bill that was going to pass raising minimum wage, which hasn't changed in much in the past 40 years.
40 years.
Around that, yeah.
Hmm.
As much as
Yeah,
everything
no,
else has changed, it hasn't kept up.
yeah. That's the thing, like about capitalism, though. Like it's like the whole like one size fits all bullshit. Because one size is never gonna fit all, especially if like companies are changing the sizing, which is actually the truth. Like people will like sizing is getting like smaller. Which will a lot of people know. I'm eating something right now. Hold on, give me a sec.
Yeah, and with the sizing thing, there's also the illusion of variety and mass of things, options, which with capitalism there's obviously the options of brands. Let's say somebody gets out of jail and they go to a store, and at jail they had all the necessities, like so, but obviously they don't have brands. When you go out to like a local grocery store, you're gonna have all these brands, all these varieties, giving you the illusion that you have the freedom to choose, which is not the case when it comes to like necessities. Not necessities, but like your income, your job.
Because capitalism doesn't restrict greed.
Mm, yeah.
Greed is what feeds it. Um, Monopolies are supposed to be illegal. There's an issue with it. Like I forgot when, but people were doing monopolies, taking control of everything. Pepsi and Coca Cola owned by the same people.
Disney. Like we could pull out so many examples of companies. Cough cough Avatar. Wait, is it Avatar under Disney? Cries.
Make,
Wah!
yeah.
Okay, I have like a photo. I pulled up a photo. Yeah. There's also like a thing like one company owns all the glasses. Not glasses, but like eyeglasses. One company owns all the tech. One company owns all of the newspaper outlets. I don't know. One company owns all the bread that goes out to your local grocery store.
Yeah, because that's the thing. When they sell to stores, that store could have had the option of getting other options that are not owned by the same five people, but they offer better prices, and they can only offer better prices because they have a fucking monopoly.
Yeah, they
They
have
can
all that income.
afford they can afford to be cheap because they have all that money and income from making illegal monopolies. And the thing is that they have lawmakers and politicians who are fighting for them, but there's nobody fighting for the people because of capitalism. Capitalism killed democracy, and it does.
So like
Because it. Yeah,
pe-
no, go ahead.
people would ask, like, if people listen to this, they're probably gonna think, well, how does this affect the working class, and how does this affect me? Like, monopolies. How is that a bad thing?
Well, I mean, honestly, like, corporations do not benefit you. It is purely benefiting the CEO. Right
Yeah.
now, although the majority of the company is worked by people like the working class. The working class should
Majority.
be what like
The fuel, the backbones.
they're the backbones. Like Elon Musk is a fucking he's a millionaire.
Yeah.
Made Tesla, and simply because he's a billionaire, people assume that he's smart and he knows his way around with money, because that's the biggest bullshit they give out is that rich people, the reason they're rich is because they know how to manage money, not like poor people who make bad decisions paying bills and stuff, because there's bills to pay and not everybody has resources like alive family members who are available to help pay. So they have to take out loans and they have to pay those loans. And eventually, when it all gets bad, you have an enormous amount of debt. And then, whenever you have children, if you have children, then that debt is going to be passed down to them, and it gets worse and worse and worse. And it's all completely generational. And with capitalism, it's extremely unforgiving, which is why immigrants do have a bigger chance in getting into a healthier stance than people who have lived in America for years.
Yeah.
Um,
I
because they have
actually
a fresh slate and they don't have to fight off impending battles from other family members in America.
I've
And
pulled up a thing. You were saying like Elon Musk is a millionaire. I pulled up this thing, and his network, get this, is $146 billion. Billion. Which means he makes I looked this up, and he makes a monthly income of $200 million.
yeah. And so shit like that is like, do you really think you're not better than Elon Musk? He is an idiot who, in his first like 2 months, like 1 month, 1 week, his first week of running Twitter, he ran it to the ground, and he
So
threw that
obviously
garbage
he's
out
bad at owning
and
things.
rolled it down the cliff. He's
Yeah.
stupid.
So
He
stupid
like,
people can get monopolies and get rich.
well, it doesn't help like the working class at all, and he treats them horribly as well. He has absolutely no gratefulness towards them. First thing he told the janitors is that they were going to be replaced by machines.
Yeah.
Now that is like the closest thing to evil that Disney shows people, because Disney protects capitalism and protects a lot of ideologies, because they like to control like children's minds who are going to like eventually grow up to adults, and they can't be placing them like anti-capitalistic ideas because they want to breed workers. If we
Mm.
didn't have any work, nothing would be possible.
Okay.
But
So this like monopoly thing, this monopoly thing. the American, pretty much what we're trying to say is the American dream is supposed to be applied to every American, that they have a quote unquote chance. This quote unquote chance is diminished by these monopolies, pretty much, is what we're trying to get to. Do you think that's a good summary?
Yeah. Um. Yeah.
Sorry, did I cut off your train of thought?
Yeah. Sorta. Hold on. Um.
If you can't think of it, I could read
Yeah.
out this thing I
So.
saw.
No. So something that I was bringing up earlier is how Republicans are supposed to be like money over people, which is the whole thing. Is that in their policies they value money more than they do people and human issues,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is problematic in itself that that would be the definition and that people vote for that because it is greed. And the thing is that like capitalism has breeded multiple people who believe that money is everything, and money is only everything because we made it everything. If 70% of the human population were to just stop caring about money, it wouldn't exist because it's completely made up. It does not exist. We pay with invisible money every day whenever you do that credit card, whenever you scan that credit card, and whenever you swipe that debit card.
Yeah.
We are paying with invisible money. Money does not matter more than human lives, and that is such an important thing to like to know. Um because it's tangible and money isn't.
Yeah.
The only reason we need money is because the positions that rich people have made, not thinking about the actual working class who doesn't have to worry about, or sorry, who has to actually worry about bills and stuff.
Yeah,
And it's
it's
also perspective and why it's important to have like diversity in the politicians that we elect, and why it's important that elections actually are fair and that people aren't being denied at the polls, and why it's important for people to vote. Because the thing is, because we feel so small in American society, because the average person in America does feel like they are like worthless, I guess, in a way where they can't contribute change. But you can is the thing. You can. There are multiple like choices you have in everyday life that does not cost you any money.
I mean,
And my concern
obviously, what we're
that
doing here is something that many people could also try to do.
yeah, but I'm talking about like choosing like the places that you're gonna eat. Like Chick-fil-A is
Yeah.
so problematic that you have to realize why it is though. Because you could say, well, it doesn't matter because it's just me. Like, how is it gonna affect it if I'm literally just like
It's
buying
just
like a
one
chicken
meal.
sandwich over there? It's just one meal, but uh, millions of people said that exact same thing. And that's what makes the difference. If you say no and then those other people said no, it needs to start with you at one point because you are all you can do. And if and people just need to stop like I guess being dense into thinking like, oh, well, if this and this, then yeah, I would. If the person beside me doesn't eat it, then I won't.
Yeah.
Which is a very like sheep mindset, which is actually funny whenever people like call liberals like sheep, is because most of all like Republicans are sheep. They just follow
Yeah.
whatever like people say.
But yeah, they
Not
follow
follow
what the person they look up saying, which is normally like
up politicians.
politician. Yeah.
Politicians should not be a let's see, an idol,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day they are doing somebody else's bidding.
Mhm.
Like they're and they where that's why Chick-fil-A is a problematic business to support, is because the main place where like horrible politicians get their money and funding, where horrible places get their funding, usually Chick-fil-A, they make it very open who they donate to, and that is who you are giving your money to.
And like
That
the also another thing with like media and influence, you can't you can't make up your own mind. Like if you have this class system where you have the working class, middle class, and then above that obviously people with lots of money, who normally most of those people are CEOs, influencers on social media, they all have a platform to say something. And if you're listening to those people who have tons of money and want to benefit only themselves, it's just going to ruin the working class even more because they only want to benefit themselves by using your own hard work. It's just the working class following what the higher class says, which is normally only benefiting the higher class and not the
well,
majority.
the only thing I mean is about being careful who like you give your money to, because mostly it's important to recognize what their roots are and where people are getting their money to do horrible things. Disney like paying into like getting whatever, giving funding to politician A who gives it to politician B so that they have enough money to do whatever they want, to buy out an advertisement on TV but
Yeah,
only market it to small white towns.
yeah,
It's the fact that they target people that they know. Like it's the whole thing. It's like people are. It's like you. At the end of the day, individuals are not as oh my god, non-suspectable as they think they are. And I mean that in the sense of like most people have the idea that I would never fall into the mindset of being in a cult. I
mm,
would never. I would never like buy into propaganda. I would never. And the fact that you think that means that you are already like definitely able to be manipulated into joining a cult. Like
yeah,
no matter how much you think you wouldn't be, there's ways to break that down, and if you have an ego it just makes it extremely easier to use that against
yeah.
you.
There's obviously
Like
something telling you that you're not gonna fall into this certain trap.
if you live in America, you have already been manipulated. Your mind has already been controlled by some corporation at one point in your life.
Mm,
There's going to be any change, it has to be through the working class. Like it has to be through the working class. And you needed to get into a habit of doing stuff, to
yeah,
going to actually like doing stuff in real life to better someone, tipping somebody at like a work, at a restaurant, tipping them, trying to help out in the ways that you can, and realize that like even if you don't live in a communistic society yet or a socialistic one or whatever you want to believe in, just because you don't believe that doesn't mean that you can't apply that mindset today. You can change anything about yourself today. And there's no shame in doing that either. Like
mm,
if you're like you think like you're far gone, or if you're like I guess a Republican who like is starting to like I guess see stuff that you don't like, then like you can still like make a change in yourself. through actions.
Yeah, and it may seem really bad because you're using the tools that capitalism gives you to diminish it, which may seem weird. Like for us, we're literally using a, an influence thing that gets people money, and that just seems weird because obviously we're trying to spread whatever socialism, communism, whatever, and we're using YouTube, which is a capitalistic range of profit.
Well, honestly, whenever people point that out, it's really just them being a smartass about it. Like, what else are we going to use? There are
Well, yeah, that's what I'm trying
so
to get
the
to. Like,
entire
people are
point,
gonna think bad
the
about what
entire
they do.
point of us doing this is that we're reaching out to an audience, and an audience isn't going to be through like a tiny third party platform. It has to be this way.
A mass media
Um,
platform.
it has to be mass media because that is where most Americans find themselves
Yeah.
in. And they're kind of like redirecting you to somewhere else. But we're just gonna be staying here, guarding the dock, saying you leave.
We're gatekeeping.
Like we probably will like redirect this onto somewhere else, like eventually. So that like people can be redirected, I guess, if they want
Yeah.
to. But mostly, I think my goal with this is to just redirect people off of it and not
Yeah.
somewhere else.
My goal in this is to get more people on a certain social platform to connect and chat and make up social events in real life, which is already what a lot of things on Reddit, Twitter are like communities, but they're still small. And only doing this is hopefully gonna make it bigger.
Yeah, I think people are definitely a little bit too like involved in their brain about capitalistic ideas that aren't very accurate to the truth. Um, Truths that like mostly like corporations like to hide. And corporations, in reality, it's just talking about five people. Because a true corporation, what percentage of that is the CEO? Not a lot. When you're talking about the corporations, what we're really talking about are the stakeholders, the people who own the company. Because yes, there's a CEO, but then there's other people that own stakes of the percent of that company, and those are the people that are making money. Small
Yeah.
percentage are the working class, who people who are investing into stocks.
Well,
Which
I wouldn't say the working
yeah,
class anymore really invests in stocks. That used to be the thing, but
well, people can. This is the thing. If you are a working class, which is what I'm talking about, is that the only reason why the working class doesn't invest as much into the stocks as probably should is because one, that involves money, and that also involves understanding how business works, which nobody really teaches for a
yeah,
reason.
yeah,
And if somebody is teaching how to use stocks on the internet, it's usually some dude who's 19 and a self proclaimed millionaire and has a really rich family, rich mom, dad, and
yeah.
he's also a scammer part time.
Part time.
That's the selfishness and the greed, and why it's not really why the working class has had some trust issues with resources that people are willing to give out because sometimes it does screw you over.
So I want to get back to the
All right,
more of
can I?
American. Oh, sorry, what?
Oh, I'm gonna get something to drink real quick.
Okay, I'll quickly talk about this. While you. Okay, so I want to move back to the American Dream target, which we were talking about. Um, but I have this one thing. We obviously have the modern evolution. I wanted to bring about the evolution, the origins. What I keep land in which life should be a better, richer, and fuller for everybody. At the time, that was the idea because of the expansion of the U.S. You had more land. They wanted to give that to everybody. That is quite impossible when you have a growing population. You cannot give more to people when the people grow. It's going to cut down land. So, to make people richer and fuller is not going to work unless you cut out majority. So obviously at the beginning, everybody was getting land, except for non-white people, non-white Christians. But obviously this time they considered everybody just to be white Christians, so. And slowly over time, everybody began to be able to get land. Almost everybody. That means the land cut down, the profits cut down, people were making less money. Well, I wouldn't say less money, but people had less stuff. They had less land, they had less farmland. So over time, only a certain group of people were owning farmland. The other group of people were working in factories around the Industrial Revolution. So, so obviously we have the employees, the farmers. At the time, factory worker was booming. That was the mass thing. Farmers were still making a living. But the American dream at this time was moving to America, getting a factory job. And retrospect, not much has changed except for the separation of class. Nowadays, we have, let's say president politics. But I would say there's a group of people who are much more richer than those presidents in politics, which we would call business owners. When you're under capitalism, business is the highest thing you can reach. Business. So, for example, we were talking about Elon Musk. A person moving to America is not going to expect to become someone like Elon Musk. Right? A person nowadays who wants to move to America to get the American dream is more of a materialistic thing. It is focused on getting the most things, having the shiniest things, having a big house, having a big family, having a big car. Right? And this is branched off of the Cold War era. Oh, hi. This is branched off of the Cold War era when capitalism was magnified due to having an enemy, which was obviously communism. You got polar opposites. So capitalism was amplified. People were more focused about buying individual things, buying more things, buying bigger things, which is now the American dream. Having a big house, big car, big everything. Don't say what I'm gonna say, but yeah.
Yeah, honestly, but that's another interesting thing to think about though is the history behind communism and how inaccurate it can be. Because in a lot of situations, it's historians calling things communism, not necessarily what was happening during present time or what it actually was. It was made on account of a lot of biased people.
Yeah. Well, we can get to like communism on a different time. I don't know if you want to just focus on the American dream part, or if you just want to, we can.
Sure. Yeah.
So, what I was talking about is the origins of the American dream, which this thing was like obviously everybody to prosper, get richer and fuller, which at the time was only white people, white Christians, and always really has been.
The patriarchy.
Yeah. Like I was saying, at the time, they were getting more land expansion. They were getting more land, but by the time they got all the land and more people claiming land began to decrease. the individual amount of land began to decrease as more people moved to America. So that idea of getting fuller, richer land, prosperity, became static. And then it moved to wealth compared to having more land than your neighbor. I don't know. Your 100-mile away neighbor. Which brings me to that, so.
And then they killed a bunch of native people. Yeah!
Which is how they got the land. Which is how they became quote unquote richer and fuller. So.
Yeah. Well, because capitalism has always drained it from other resources first. It has to be draining it out from something. It's always going to be draining out from something. And it's resources, and it's the earth, it's the ocean, and it's the working class.
Yeah.
That's the stuff that capitalism drains out of people. You are their resource, basically. You are the coal.
Now it's different. It's different if you had like if you had a group of people that were like living off of the local fruit tree things. You can always plant new trees. Like you can always plant things. You could always.
They're doing everything. I don't want to say like back in the good old days. But
back in the good old days.
To adopt, it's like that one film, of making a reproducing farm, where all they have to worry about is collecting the fruit and not actually nourishing it because it's from the environment. In its natural environment, in our natural elements, humans are better and everything is way more efficient.
And it's more balanced.
Animals would fertilize the plant, and then rain would water the plant.
Yeah, it's at that time humans thought that they had more power to control things.
More technology to better it, I guess, is the thing. Because if we focus our energy more on making substitutes possible with technology and not actually using that technology first and foremost, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Not just making it and then like never making it a multi-billion thing that nobody can use.
Yeah. Because we need to start localizing a lot of our efforts, because we want to stay away from corporations, because corporations at the end of the day are what kills small businesses, and money kills small businesses. I talk about this a lot, but like authentic restaurants, who have to choose through the authenticity of their food or pleasing more people who aren't from that ethnicity, and therefore transforming the food into non-authentic food, stuff like that, and having to choose money, because at the end of the day, money is what makes you live.
So also this quote unquote American dream is gonna rip.
It's also different whenever that small business chooses money over authenticity, because at the end of the day, it's understandable that they would choose that because they have something to feed, they need to pay bills. But versus whenever a big corporation does that and they choose money over authenticity, or they choose money over any other moral matter, or ethics, anything to do with ethics, like it's completely different. Because that corporation, that CEO already has 10 Lamborghinis sitting in his garage getting coal. He doesn't need extra money, but he still takes more. Instead of marking up the price, he'll just sell it to you same price, and then change the bottles to make them smaller, and so that you get less product. It's the whole Gatorade thing where they like take it from under you and don't tell anybody.
It's like what's their new high score that they can get of money.
because it's greed, and it's greed
Like you
is
said with the restaurants changing their thing, that's also a thing. Like with the American dream, you want to move to America. It's just gonna rip away your culture. It's gonna rip away like everything that you know or you connect to.
yeah. It also like hates on differences. Basically, that's why America has such a unhealthy relationship with anything that is different, whether that's cultural, sexual, or on gender and stuff like that. It's like any differences is very like America reacts to it very hostile like. And that's because they've been told like all their life that there's a certain way to do things, that there's a certain way that you're supposed to live life, and it's the American dream. It's living in a picket fence community, and it's living with like a two-story house. You want to be middle class, making about like 80,000, and that's all. That's where you're aiming. You're aiming to be there. Nobody ever aims higher than that because they know it's not possible, and if they get beat down by corporations whenever anybody wants to step out of place and be more than middle class.
So there's just gonna be a bigger and bigger gap every year.
There is, because they're making it harder to even like get into middle class, but even harder to break from middle to top. The top percent is reserved for only the top percent. It's extremely private, and they like to keep it that way.
My
Most
favorite
people,
word,
once they get to
private.
that place, it's has to have been through some sort of manipulation and something unethical, because there's no way to break that without making a bunch of money, unless social media had something to do with it, racking you in a bunch of money.
Mm-hmm.
And that is usually only acceptable if it's something to do with art, a song, or selling paintings.
Pretty much luck. You can make like you can make a media that that you put in the amount of effort as like let's say you make a random piece of media that took you like
No, because
an hour to make.
the reason why I say that is because Mr. Beast is a very good example of it. What he did was he made a bunch of money, and this was not like without the help of like obviously his family being there for the money to like even be able to afford that. Then also like he's like a very charismatic person. He was able to like swindle people into giving him more money to do stuff. And we're not really sure if he's really a good person, but he does give a lot to communities.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Well,
which
his
will
beginning videos, you would see he would post his beginning videos would be watching a music video for 24 hours, uh reading the Bible. I don't know, like things that like he I don't think he did that, but he
yeah,
did
stuff
the
that's free to do. That's free to do.
stuff that catches people's eye. So if something like like I think that is worth getting a sort of income. You did put yourself through a certain amount of work, but let's say you post a song. You post a song that takes you a week to make. Um that song gets a really big hit. You make thousands of dollars. This song that you put 1 week to got you the same amount as somebody who would work years